Tonight on Joynews Prime, day one of teachers and educational workers strike in full swing, with the unions insisting they will not return until their grievances are addressed.
We raised it and it is as if they have not heard us. Meetings upon meetings, even with the presidency, we raised this issue.
Some regional branches of TEU have also joined the strike, which coincides with the resumption of academic work.
The Teachers and Educational Workers Union would like to state without vocation that the fair wear of its members is always and remains its first priority and calls for members' support in the struggle for fairness, justice in the world of work.
The Ministries of Employment and Labour Relations, Finance and Education are meanwhile locked up in a meeting with the leadership of the striking workers. We're bringing you details. Parliament yet to resolve dispute over which party will constitute the majority when the House resumes sitting on Friday, with the independent candidate for FUNA being blamed for stalling the resolution.
We've not concluded on that. Okay. The simple reason that the Honourable Member should write to Mr. Speaker, he has not. That's under my question. So,
the New Patriotic Party caucus are disputing the claim.
The so-called lacuna that the NDC want to impose on us does not exist. There is no such lacuna.
The hearing of the petition challenging the outcome of the 2020 presidential election is meanwhile set for tomorrow, with the former president John Mahama set to ask the court to permit live telecast of proceedings. In business, government misses its single-digit inflation target as the Judicial Service records 10.4% for December 2020. What does this signal? Details in 30 minutes. My name is Israel, and Joynews Prime is coming to you live from our Fanofa studios at Kokumlemle here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air, and also on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. This is the home of independent, fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. The strike declared by the Teachers and Educational Workers Union TEU is in full swing at the University of Ghana, with members of the union declaring they will not return to work until all their grievances are addressed by government. A number of TEU workers converged at the university's main entrance, mostly wearing red and demanding that the government heed to their demands. Although students who had reported on campus following the university's reopening were going about their usual routines, the impact of the strike will soon be felt. My colleague Kweku Asante has more in the following report.
In spite of the strike action embarked upon by members of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union TEU, students of the University of Ghana were seen going about their usual business that characterized the reopening of schools, registering to be granted access to their halls. The impact of the strike action is still yet to be felt, as a few members of TEU are still at post going about their usual routines. The Teachers and Educational Workers Union is an association of a section of staff members of public educational institutions. Their composition include drivers, artisans, hall assistants, security personnel, and some administrative staff in public educational institutions. The union declared its intention to embark on a nationwide strike beginning today, Wednesday, January 13, 2021, citing the failure of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to conclude negotiation on their demand for better conditions of service as one of the key reasons. The strike is in full force at the University of Ghana, where members converged at the main entrance of the university to address the media. General Secretary of TEU, Makranche, insisted that government was treating them unfairly and being discriminated against compared to other senior members of the universities, including UTAG.
When the issue of non-basic allowance came up, primarily it was because free SHS and its attendant numbers are going to increase, and therefore the numbers in the universities are going to increase. And so government thought it wise that let us give some cushioning to our lecturers. As soon as our senior members, non-academic, heard about it, They also made a proposal to government, and as a matter of urgency, this was addressed, and senior members, non-academic, were also roped in. Fortunately for us, TEU members are the ones who work on the payroll, and so we saw it, and then we drew attention to government that this thing you are doing, if care is not taken, and if you don't extend it to everybody on campus, it will create problems. Yes. We raised it, and it is as if they have not heard us. Meetings upon meetings, even with the presidency, we raised this issue. What the president said was that the ministers responsible and the agencies responsible should immediately sit with us and negotiate and come to some agreement. And this was February 2020. We are in January 2021. Nothing has been said about it. And the laws of the land frowns on discrimination of whichever form. And that is why we think that we have come to a point where we can no longer bear the frustration. We have to go and sit our somewhere and think of ourselves.
Thank you.
In conditions of service that the local chairman mentioned, since June 2019, we have been at the table.
Mark Crunchy also noted that they will ensure compliance to the directive to members to strike, even if it means using force.
We are saying that all TEU members must lay down their tools. We are sending people to go around and ensure total compliance. Total compliance. We don't want anybody to, as it were, betray anyone. And we don't want to apply force on anybody, but voluntarily, let us all lay down our tools and get what we all deserve.
So the crowd is beginning to disperse, and just behind me you will see a number of people from TEU University of Ghana coming from all departments and all units of the university, still protesting government's decision to exclude them from the 18% basic, non-basic allowance, which they say has been given to UTAG and other senior members of the university, but they are not getting. So they are alleging that government is being discriminatory against them, and our government is not taking the concerns that they've been making seriously. We know that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has been saying that they've been talking with the TEU National for some time now. Although they've not been able to find a common ground, there is still some issues that must be dealt with. And then members of TEU, particularly here at the University of Ghana, are saying that they are not going back to their various offices to work. Even if they'll be there, they will be going to sit down without taking their tools and working for the university. As a key part of the successful running of these public educational institutions, and with a few days into the reopening of schools, the strike by TEU will have a massive impact on the smooth running of these institutions. The association says it won't back down on its demands and expects that government, through the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, would heed to their demands. Students who are just reporting to campus after a long break will bear the brunt of this industrial action and expect government to immediately move in to deal with the concerns of the striking TEU members.
Members of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union at the University of Cape Coast also joined in the strike. Richard Kodonyako was on the UCT campus and reports members want the strike to be indefinite.
Members of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union at the University of Cape Coast on Wednesday gathered at their popular bottom tree to take a decision on whether to join the strike called by their mother union or not. They were unanimous in their chants. Local UCC TEU chairman Charles Williams has been addressing members, stating reasons for their strike. He indicates until something is done and their issues addressed, they will not go back to work.
On our campus, we have UTAG, we have GAWA, we have SA, that is Senior Staff Association, and we have TEU. All these associations are university-based, with the exception of TEU. But UTAG were given 18% than basic allowance. And the purpose with which those allowances were given was that the intake, because of free SHS, the intake will be high. And for that matter, that 18% will cushion them for them to be able to work hard. So we are saying that we are also on campus. We do the same work as they also does. So why do you have to single out? This is de facto segregation. And I don't think in any sociological lingo, this kind of thing will be happening. So we are saying that, yes, today we are going on strike. Thirdly, market premium. We also hear, and that one was also given to people. You see, the same people which we are not benefit. So today is the day that we are saying that it's enough.
Regional Chairman of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union, Peter Ison, has also been addressing the TEU members across the region.
For over 3 years now, this thing has not been done, and we are here to advise our people, yes, to go and sit down when they call us for the renegotiation. Then we go there. What we are telling them that now, until it is signed, they should go and see what the management, not this management, Labor Commission, and I will call us so that we all sit down before we agree on it before we come. We are being cheated. You know, we see, not that the school, after the school there, some will go to university, but there's some work doesn't need too much education. Some are reading here. Cannot call for even JSS is okay, but when a such person comes here and work, that doesn't mean he's a dog. Something basic for him, it should be given to him.
The strike is a few hours old, and the impact of the strike is yet to be felt. It is anticipated that should the strike continue, the students, especially the fresh ones, will find campus a difficult place to be. Richard Kujina, Joynews, Cape Coast.
The Upper West Region branch of the Teachers and Education Workers Union TEU has blamed the failure of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to negotiate for new and better conditions for the nationwide strike. Regional Relations Officer of TEU, Gifty Abna Texing, says their members have in the last few years tolerated and worked with an outdated agreement which is not in their interest, and yet the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has failed to heed to their plight. Joynews Upper West Region correspondent Rafiq Salam was at the news conference held at the Simon Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies in Wa.
According to the Upper West Region's Industrial Relations Officer of the Teachers and Education Workers Union TEU, Gifty Abna Texing, the nationwide strike embarked on is precipitated by the failure of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to conclude negotiations for salaries and better conditions of service for TEU members at the various public universities in the country.
Of special contention and interest to TEU is the payment of an allowance termed non-basic salary allowance to some categories of the university staff, such as senior members and lecturers. During that negotiation, TEU also made proposal for its members to be paid a similar allowance too. But the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission flagged the demand and claimed it needed mandate from government before allowance could be factored in the conditions of service. It is unfortunate that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is yet to invite the union to any negotiation on the matter.
She said TEU last December intimated that it was going to advise itself should the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission fail to conclude negotiations on new and better conditions of service for TEU members at the public universities before the beginning of the academic year in January 2021. They laid the blame squarely on the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission for their latest decision to embark on a nationwide strike.
TEU would like to emphasize that the blame for the present industrial action lies fully on Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and TEWU had tolerated and operated for several years an outdated collective agreement. The Teachers and Educational Workers Union would like to state without equivocation that the fair wear of its members is always and remains its first priority, and calls for members' support in the struggle for fairness, justice in the world of work.
Gifty Amna Texan later in an interview stated that their next line of action will depend on the posture and action of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission.
We have just started, and we are only calling them to come back to the negotiation table. We don't know what we can do, but all that we are saying that we don't mean evil. We want them to come back to the negotiation table. If not, we'll advise ourselves in the way they will understand better. And we have started something today. The effectiveness of this strike starts from today. And if they are not coming back, we know what to do.
Reporting for Joynews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
We gonna roll.
Now, Parliament is yet to resolve the dispute over which party will constitute the majority in the House when it resumes on Friday. The leaders are expected to meet again on Thursday after a second day of meeting. Wednesday also ended inconclusively. Joynews is learning, apart from the struggle over which party should sit on the right-hand side of the Speaker, there also needs to be an agreement on which caucus will chair the various parliamentary committees. According to Deputy NDC Whip Ibrahim Ahmed, former MP Andrew Semoku, SM's delay in writing officially to the Speaker on which side he chooses to do business with is what is stalling the process.
We've not concluded on that. Okay. The simple reason that the honourable member should write to Mr. Speaker, he has not.
That's under my question.
So we have a lot of a tall list of businesses to done. We are engaging. We've not concluded. We have to conclude before we give you a definite decision. So it is not just a matter of who will be majority, who will be minority. And these are the things that we are doing. Which side should we belong to, and which side should they belong to? There are offices annexed. Which side should take possession of those offices? These are the engagements that we are having. So this meeting that you see us on, if you see us keeping long, it doesn't mean there's a deadlock.
Is Honorable Siyama refusing to write the letter in question, which is holding?
I definitely cannot say that is his private issue to be done. You understand?
We're told as far back as yesterday is when he was being asked to write this letter. Which is like
he was not asked to write any letter, and nobody can ask him to write any letter. The Honorable Samia Nkrumah came here, he didn't write any letter. There are precedents and there are incidences, and we are practicing a system of parliamentary practice and conventions. So don't say that he was forced or he was asked to write. So we are not yet there.
They have the majority, and he's written a whole piece detailing.
It is part of the issues that will be discussed at leadership meeting. Once we have, Afenyo has just joined the leadership. You understand? You don't report incomplete decisions.
Deputy Leader of the NPP caucus, Alexander Afenyo Marking, says he is unaware Mr. Amakwesiama's inaction is stalling a resolution. He says the NPP will on Friday morning invite the Speaker to rule on the issue of which side should constitute majority if no resolution is reached before Friday.
The so-called lacuna that the NDC want to impose on us does not exist. There is no such lacuna. The construction is clear. When a party or parties come together and their numerical strength is such that they have more than the other grouping, they form the majority caucus. And wait. And somebody is saying that because of the word party or parties, an independent member of parliament who decides to join a party cannot properly so called be described as a party What that person has forgotten is that there is no such interpretation of the word party or parties in the standing orders. So you cannot limit yourself to a political party. It does not say a political party. Mind you that the provision that talks about majority leader and minority leader is at the interpretation column, portion, or the 7, has to do with interpretation. And there is no other use of the word party or parties to mean a political party. So you will be lost in an artificial forest created by you. If you try to say you are a literalist, you will limit yourself to a meaning of convenience because you have seen the word party or parties. I am saying, and I am going to invite Mr. Speaker to hold, that the construction party or parties practically will mean and should mean independent members of parliament.
Marking has meanwhile been defending the MPP's position that it holds the majority in the 8th Parliament. He says the standing orders support their position.
Taken by the MPP in Parliament. I have made available my written submission on this matter, and unfortunately they have not put out any argument to support their claim. Be that as it may, our standing orders envisage situations such as we have today, where diverse interpretations may be given to a particular provision. So there's a provision in the standing orders that states that matters that are not provided for in the standing orders, Mr. Speaker will exercise that discretion to guide the House accordingly. Again, specifically, Order 5 also provides that where there is any form of controversy regarding any construction in the standing orders, regarding any interpretation of any matter, Mr. Speaker will have the sole authority to give an interpretation. So clearly, with this issue of who is the majority and who is the minority coming up, and I am happy with the debate, it would enrich the jurisprudence of Parliament. Therefore, if eventually we are unable to agree on it, as the case appears to be, we may have to argue it on the House floor.
In another development, the NDC caucus in Parliament is demanding the abrogation of a contract between government and South African firm Motor Angle for the expansion of the Accra-Tema motorway. A statement from the Roads Minister indicated the contract, which will expand the motorway into both 3-lane and 2-lane stretches, was signed on December 16. NDC caucus spokesperson on roads, Kwame Agboja, argues the contract was sole sourced without basis and should be abrogated.
Ghanaian contractors will play 40% role. It's just like something that belongs to you 100%, it is sold to you 40% cheaper. How does that make sense? And I'm saying on record, the scope of work in terms of reconstructing the motorway, the top 5 Ghanaian road contractors can do this at ease if they are given the same conditions and then the monies, they will do this, and the benefit will be better for Ghanaians. So we are telling government, stop this process. It will take you just about 2 extra months to even go and do selective tendering and allow, maybe break it into 3 or 5 lots. Allow Ghanaian contractors
to be able to participate in this so that we can have Ghanaian heroes in this. I feel Article 181 has been ignored. Motor Angels, since they are not bringing a dime, have no business being part of this at all. This job, if we are finding the money, either through taxes or bonds, must be solely handled by Ghanaian road contractors to the benefit of Ghanaians. Colleagues in the media, this is our point that we are making, and we have no reason to believe that the government has considered the interests of the people of this country. This is just like another scheme, just like Ameri, just like any of them, just to create an opportunity to serve themselves. And we in the NDC caucus in Parliament will not. If they push this, we shall call for a parliamentary probe into this contract. Motor Angels have no business touching this project because they are not bringing a dime. Ghanaian engineers are more than capable of doing this. Ghanaian contractors are more than capable of doing this. This is why.
Now, it's been barely 24 hours to the first sitting of the Supreme Court on the election petition filed by 2020 NDC presidential candidate John Mahama. Mr. Mahama is in the Apex Court asking that it announce the election results and allow a runoff between himself and the NPP's Nana Akufo-Addo. Court correspondent Joseph Akaplay looks ahead on what to expect tomorrow.
Some people have asked me what I hope to gain by challenging the results of this election. Let me tell you, I want perhaps the very same thing that my opponent wanted when in 2012 he challenged the results of that election. I want the removal of doubt.
The NDC candidate is asking the Apex Court to rule that the election results as declared by the EC breach the Constitution since no candidate got more than 50% of the votes cast. He's asking that the court announce the results and orders a runoff between himself and the NPP's Nana Akufo-Addo.
I want for all of us to know that our elections should be free, fair, and safe, and that we do not have to settle for a process that leaves us confused and with more questions than answers. I want a Ghana where institutions of state can be held to account, where we can stand on principle and demand transparency without the risk of losing our lives. When people lose their lives, as 7 people have done in the course of our elections, we're moving backwards, not forward. We're unraveling the very fabric of our democracy. We're risking the loss of 3 decades worth of progress.
Mr. Akufo-Addo's lawyers and lawyers for the Electoral Commission have since filed responses to the petition. They contend the petition does not disclose any attack on the validity of the election held in 38,622 polling stations. They also say the allegation of vote padding involving some 6,622 votes is empty and insignificant to materially affect the outcome of the election. They have therefore served notice of an initial objection to be raised, urging the Apex Court to dismiss the petition. They want a date to be fixed for legal arguments. Other documents related to the case cited by Joynews reveals a hearing date fixed for Thursday, January 14. Mr. Mahama's lawyers in these documents are asking to be allowed to correct mistakes in the petition. A key issue to be corrected is a request that the Apex Court allows a runoff between Mr. Mahama and the Electoral Commission instead of Nana Akufo-Addo.
Now, the Judicial Service has described as a grave import to the integrity of the judiciary allegations of bribery by the chief whip of the NDC caucus in Parliament, Muntaka Mubarak. The Sawasi MP has disclosed that a Supreme Court judge had tried to bribe NDC MPs to get them to vote for Professor Mike Okoye as Speaker, and has indicated the readiness of the NDC to provide evidence for a probe into the allegations by the Chief Justice. In a statement signed by the Judicial Secretary, Justice Cynthia Pamela Addo, today, she said the Chief Justice will get to the bottom of the matter. My colleague Elton Brobe joins me via Zoom with a copy of the statement. So, Elton, what exactly does the statement say?
So, Israel is a one-page statement. It says that the judiciary has noted with grave concern the remarks of Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, Honorable Member of Parliament for Asawase, which have been widely published in the media, alleging that a justice of the Supreme Court attempted to bribe an NDC female Member of Parliament for vote for Honorable Aaron Mike Okoye in the election of the Speaker of the 8th Parliament, which took place on January 7, 2020.
All right, that was Elton Brobe with that statement from the Judicial Service. You're watching Joynews Prime. We're taking a break, but when we come back, we have business for you. Do stay tuned in.
Hello, good evening. It's time for business. I'm Charles Aitib. Inflation went up in the month of December 2020 to 10.4%, a marginal increase over that of November. This means that prices of goods and services went up during the month of December, which is the Christmas festivity. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, a marginal increase in the rate of food was the trigger. Here's more.
Food contributed 59.1% to the total inflation for December 2020. This is the highest contribution recorded since April 2020 when COVID-19 started to affect Ghana, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. The increased rate of food inflation is the predominant reason for increased overall inflation, as without this increase, year-on-year inflation would have been lower than last month. Vegetables, which contributed 24.2%, was the subclass with the highest rate of inflation, followed by fish and other seafood. Here is government statistician Professor Samuel Kobena-Enim.
We still see that food dominates its contribution to overall inflation. Unlike the past 7 months where the contribution of food has hovered between 50 and 55%, for the first time in 7 months, we see that contribution of food has again inched up by 6.1%, increasing from 53.0% to 59.1%. The last time that we recorded such a high contribution of food inflation to overall inflation was in the month of April 2020 during the COVID-19 era, where contribution of food stood at 59.6%. The contribution of food as we see for December 2020 is the second highest for the year 2020.
For the regions, the Upper West region recorded the least inflation of 2.1%, while the Greater Accra region registered the highest inflation rate of 16.3% in the month of December.
Regional variation for food inflation was higher than non-food inflation. Specifically, the variation across regions stood at 19.7%, with Upper West recording a deflation of 0.4% and Greater Accra recording an inflation of 19.3%, culminating in the variation of 19.7%. From a non-food perspective, we did see that Upper West recorded inflation of 4.6% and Greater Accra recorded inflation of 14.2%, leading to a variation of 19.6 percentage points. So the variation from a non-food inflation perspective was about 10.0 percentage difference relative to food inflation. We continue to see stark variations across regions, source and type of items.
This indicated that prices of goods, particularly foodstuffs, were on the high side during the period of December last year.
Let's stay on the matter of inflation because financial analyst and head of finance at the Valley View University, Dr. Williams Pepram, is making a strong case on the need to reduce food importation in order to drive down inflation.
This particular issue of price increase is triggered by the food basket, which is a little bit of a challenge because we were hoping that our local food produced locally will help us to reduce the inflation. But if you look at what the statistician said, the inflation is triggered high by our food prices. We see that in the coming years is going to be an issue which government needs to work on, especially with its policy on trying to make sure that we produce or grow food within the country and then be able to eat them. We should try to reduce a lot of importation of food because most of the food prices going up, they were triggered by food products that were imported into the country.
So my next question was going to be how we work our way back to single digit then. And hearing, listening to you, I guess then we have to work on issues with food prices. Is that what we have to do to get back to single digit?
Yes, normally our food prices is linked to our importation. We are importing more food items. So normally we have discussed that our economy, the structural nature is not balanced. Once we are importing more, we are bringing someone's inflation into our country.
Well, that's it by way of business. We're back after 8. I'm Charles Aitib.
With us here on Joynews Prime Time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah, and we begin from the Black Starlets, and head coach Ben Foko has blamed match day referee Ahmed Dome for Ghana's failure to qualify to the 2021 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations. According to him, the junior national team approached the game with the right attitude, but the referee had an agenda to stop them from qualifying.
The first goal to try to make sure that we equalize. And if you look at the way we were attacking, getting our chances to score, I can say yes, because everybody witnessed the game yesterday. Watching the attitude of the referee tells you that the referee don't want us to qualify yesterday. That is exactly what happened yesterday on the field of play. So I can say that he contributed a lot. We went to the game with the right approach because we know we need to qualify, not by say winning the game or whatever. We approach the game for qualification. Either we win or we draw, we qualify. So we went in with the right approach, but it didn't happen. And in course of games, sometimes certain things happen on field. Maybe you would think that there wasn't the right approach for the match. But I think that we went to the match in the right approach. We sat down, making sure that this is how we have to approach the game so that we can even qualify. So I can say that we went in the right approach. Yes, if I say that we are sure that this team will go to places, that doesn't mean that because we lost, it means that team will not go to places.
Now still on the Black Starlet, General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Prosper Harrisonado, insists that development of the team will not be ignored despite their failure to make it to the Under-17 AFCON tournament later this year. Joy Sports' Asari Bediako has more in the following report.
Ghana's dreams of reaching this year's Africa Under-17 Cup of Nations crashed after their defeat to Ivory Coast in the WAFU Zone B Championship in Togo. Coach Ben Foko's team had the desire and determination to impress, but their Ivorian counterparts were stronger and more organized. After drawing their opening game against Nigeria, the Black Starlets needed to beat Ivory Coast to reach the semi-finals of the competition, but suffered a 3-1 defeat. Following Ghana's failure to book a ticket to Morocco, many football fans have questioned the pre-tournament preparation of the team. But in an exclusive interview with Joy Sports, GFA General Secretary Prosper Harrisonado says there was a proper plan in place.
There is a proper plan. Indeed, even amidst the COVID, this team was able to camp in Cape Coast until the lockdown. They had to go home and they had to come back and assemble at Pram Pram. What I might say is the fact that unlike previous years where they would have played a lot of friendly matches, which gives them a lot of preparation. This time, because of the COVID, don't forget, lower leagues do not have permission to play. So we needed to have permission for some of the clubs to play them.
Prosper Harrisonado says the Black Starlets' failure to reach the Africa Under-17 Cup of Nations will not affect their development.
Even though we've not qualified, our policy and plans remains the same. We need to give them, the players, more campaign, more exposure in terms of international matches. And so we'll work at it and ensure that even though we'll not go to the competition, we would endeavor to play international matches and then expose the boys as we should.
This is the second time the Black Starlets have failed to qualify for the Africa Under-17 Cup of Nations after missing out on the 2019 edition.
That's it for this installment. We'll be back later with more. Stay with us.
All right, it's time for Showbiz and Becky Bex. Hello, Bex.
Hello to you, Easy. How you doing?
Well, how about you?
You know, I haven't noticed your hair.
Okay.
I just did. It's very nice.
You like it?
Yes. What's the style called?
Well, yeah, I just, I don't know what it's called. I just thought I should.
And it makes you look like what?
A little taller.
Okay, that's great. Let's talk about the Academy Awards, Oscars.
Okay.
So, you know, we have a board here in Ghana, and a lot of people are bashing the board as to why they didn't send in any Ghanaian movie to be nominated for the award. So, Leila Jansi is part of the board, part of the committee, the Oscar committee, and she's been explaining the reason why no Ghanaian movie has been submitted for the awards this year.
All right,
so that was Leila talking.
And he explains. I mean, I think
yeah.
he puts across some valid reasons.
It means that we have to do more. We have to do something more than what we've
Because what's the point? You can submit and it gets there and it gets rejected, and it's going to also tell on their work.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was Leila Jansi. So do more good movies, basically. That's what Leila is saying. So let's move on and talk about more awards. Shatta Wale. Are you a fan of Shatta Wale?
Well, yeah, I love his music.
Okay, so he has already gotten a nomination, and you can imagine how the SM fan base.
Yeah, but we should vote, because if he wins, it's a win for Ghana.
They are looking forward to it. And everybody else, Easy, is looking forward to the 90s Jam.
Oh, yeah.
Which is happening this Friday. I'm very
Except
sad.
this time it's going to be virtual.
That's a problem.
Because you need to be there to have to feel the vibe.
And I'm thinking, how is this going to pan out?
Well, I'm sure the organizers have put stuff together.
The plan will bring you the plan tomorrow. But I'm just thinking, what you will be doing that Friday, Easy, would you be singing along?
I'll be singing along.
So which of the songs?
There are lots of songs. There are lots of songs.
You have a favorite that you want DJ Black and the Dusty or Sammy Forson to play for you?
One of them is Informer. Informer.
Okay.
Okay, there's another one. Oh.
90s Jam.
Yeah, 90s Jam. I can't. Yeah. But that one, I want to rap to it, actually.
Oh, you want to rap?
Yeah.
Oh, I was scared.
Why?
When you said you wanted to rap, I'm like, oh, don't say it, we're on TV. But, well, so 90s Jam is on Friday. You should look forward to it. I am personally looking forward to it. And, it's just something that I really wish wasn't virtual, but it's going.
No, but it's clear that if people like you enjoy it, it means the 90s era was really the 90s era.
I was born in the 90s.
You were born in the 90s.
Oh, I didn't say that. The president is not listening.
We lived in the 90s.
So,
yeah.
Simi, the Nigerian musician Simi.
Oh, yeah.
She's been married for 2 years, and she just today released the pictures for their wedding anniversary.
Okay.
When she got married, a lot of people were like, oh, did they really marry?
Yeah.
Then we realized that she was pregnant. She came out with Do Care, so many things. But today, fans are blessed with, pictures of it. But one interesting video that, they put together with the wedding and everything is what I would want you to see.
Right. Thank you very much, Becky Bex, for bringing us Showbiz. And now, for those of you who are watching on Joy Prime, there's more news on the Joy News channel. Just stay tuned in. Now, the funeral of former President Jerry John Rawlings is now scheduled for January 24 to 27. This was after the initially advertised date was rejected by the Anglo traditional leaders. Caretaker Minister in charge of information, Kojopon Nkrumah, explains the new date was the outcome of deliberations with the traditional leaders.
22nd and the 23rd of January 2021, the Anglo Traditional Council will hold a series of celebratory and traditional events in Anglo to celebrate the life of His Excellency the former President Jerry John Rawlings. Those activities will come to an end on the 23rd of January 2021 in Anglo. On Sunday, the 24th of January, the national activities will start with a Catholic Requiem Mass at the Holy Spirit Cathedral here in Accra, and then a vigil at the Air Force Base here in Accra at 6 p.m. Monday, 25th of January 2021, the mortal remains of His Excellency the former President will be laid in state for filing past by various categories of the general public.
He adds the order for filing past and the conduct of the ceremony have all been properly defined.
On Tuesday, the 26th of January 2021, filing past resumes at 9 a.m., led by His Excellency the President of the Republic, followed by the Vice President, former heads of state, the heads of constitutional bodies as well. At 10 a.m., Parliament, led by the Right Honourable Speaker and former speakers, will file past. At noon, the Chief Justice, Justices of the Supreme Court and former Chief Justices will file past. At 1 p.m., the former Chairman and members of the Council of State, former Ministers of State will also file past. At 2 p.m., members of the Diplomatic Corps will file past. And then at 3 p.m., we will make way for traditional and customary rites and celebrations while the body is in state. On the 27th of January 2021, that is on Wednesday, there will be a burial service with full military honors at the Black Star Square here in Accra, led by the Ghana Armed Forces, after which the mortal remains of His Excellency the former President will be interred at the military cemetery at Bema Camp. These are the details of the activities to celebrate the life and to inter the mortal remains of His Excellency the former President Jerry John Rawlings.
Now, scores of workers at a steel company at the Tema Free Zones Enclave are calling for the immediate shutdown of an adjoining company they say has continued to pollute the environment in disregard of EPA regulations. They accuse the company, United Steel, of ignoring several orders from the EPA to shut down. They say the Ministry of Environment has also been petitioned to immediately act on the matter. Joynews' Manuel Kurante visited the area and now reports.
Regular scenes of thick fumes and white smoke emanating from the furnace of a steel-producing company within the Tema Free Zones Enclave, United Steel Company Limited, as our visit to the location in September will reveal, is only one of several steel-producing companies within a radius of about 200 meters. As a heavy industrial area, the operations of some companies within the enclave are not environmentally friendly. A reason the EPA requires all such companies to install a pollution system to reduce the extent of damage caused. But this requirement had allegedly not been met by a number of steel companies, including United Steel and Ryder Steel. This, according to workers of M&G Company Limited, another steel company right behind United Steel, forced them to endure the smoke escaping directly from the furnace of United Steel.
When they start work like this and the smoke come here, we will stop work for almost 1-2 hours until the smoke disappear before we continue. Because as you can see, we are working with machine, excavators and forklifts. You understand? So if the visibility become poor, someone can use the forklift to hit any worker.
Even there was one day I went to the hospital. When I coughed, the man said, where do you work? I said, I work at Free Zone. Is there smoke around? I said, yes. And he told me to be watchful. That's the only thing he told me, to be watchful. He said I should be watchful. Is to do something about the smoke. They should try to reduce it for us because...
Please, even sometimes I can't sleep well. Sometimes I used to cough in the night. I cannot have sound sleep.
They are warning us about the smoke. They are warning about the smoke. Even say, if they open their machine, you even say, I'm using the excavator, You can't see you. Like you, I can't see you because of the smoke. That one so is only us.
In August 2020, the Minister for Environment, Science and Innovation, Professor Frimpong Boateng, ordered United Steel Company to shut down after a blast on its premises. But speaking to Joynews on condition of anonymity, one of its workers alleged that it did not shut down.
I was there. By them, it seemed they don't want to obey what they told them. But yes, to them, they want to work. If like you can come tomorrow, then you yourself you see the oven will be on as well. They'll be doing normal work.
What time do you start work?
We start work at 7, and then it depends. 7 when the bullets finish. When the bullets finish, then we will close at around 4. So if there's more bullets, maybe we will close 10 or 7.
For the MD of M&G Company Limited, several complaints lodged at the EPA have not yielded much results. Their only option is to continue providing safety gear for their workers.
All these expenses to make sure that they work in the best what we can do to avoid the smoke, to avoid the chemicals which is generated by the industries around. So of course even we are pressurizing more to them, and we will see that in a couple of days or weeks it will be more effective and they will be using more of that. Okay, so the cost implication is the first coming to the cost. It's been a long, the medical expenses for the workers outside and everything, which is specifically most of the expenses, medical expenses is coming out of the smoke. Till now the company is somehow managing to cover all those expenses. But since we are not sure that how long we can go with this. We are covering now almost 2 years for the medical expenses, and the people working around us it's not lower staff. It's not like 25 or 30. It's around 200 people working with us. And we have already incurred a huge cost in terms of medical facilities, the safety and everything. See, the safety, I can keep it apart because it's a part and parcel of the business.
Attempts to get management of United Steel Company Limited to respond to these allegations proved futile.
Now, he was caught up unknowingly in confusion that broke out in the Ehua community in the Ashanti region and now rendered disabled. 40-year-old Abdullah Salifu says he was subjected to severe beating by some known residents 3 years ago, leaving him with life-threatening injuries. Joynews' Mahmoud Nuruddin reports Abdullah's problems are now compounded because his only supportive wife has also suffered a stroke.
Mere so obano so yare onu so sluku ache na dako iwo ejumum ena me befi na metese.
I am married and have 7 children. My wife has a stroke. I heard there was a confusion between 2 groups of people at Ehua that led to the killing of one person. When I came home from work, I decided to go and buy meat at the market. Immediately I got there, they pounced on me and hit my head with something. I only found myself at Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, and for the past 3 years I have been unable to walk well.
Sorry, and auntie, I cry, and I'm intimate. Me from 3 years. I feel I met me.
Abdullah Salifu says he gained consciousness after 2 days at the hospital, spent about a month there before he was discharged.
Baako pene di kan ba menim onna me friend onna ni minimum no mo madamfo.
There were many people who assaulted me. I personally know one of them and even called him to inquire about the happenings of events in the area. I didn't call him to fight or confront him. While we were discussing, I realized he was furious. I remarked that I was only inquiring and he was furious. So I was holding a radio set. I turned around and held the radio tightly stuck to my ear. He used a machete to hit my head instantly.
Abdallah has been indoors since then, and life becomes more depressing because he can't walk as he once did.
When we got there, we couldn't do anything. We were rather empathizing with him. We took care of him and supported him with the help of one of my children. The family does not have enough to continue to take care of him, and there is no support coming from anywhere, aside the little we got from my child to take care of him.
Abdallah's wife, who begged for alms to feed the family, now has a stroke.
I go out to beg so that there will be food on the table for the family, and now I'm also struck with stroke. We are hopeful God will see us through, but for now we are appealing to the public to come to our aid with any kind of support because we are suffering.
Abdallah says he did no wrong to his attackers and therefore wants them to apologize.
As for that boy in question, he must come to me and apologize. Otherwise, I will never forgive him because I didn't offend him.
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Well, there's been an update on the outcome of negotiations with the stakeholders over the TEWU strike. You know, the Teachers and Education Workers Union declared a strike which went into full swing today. Let's bring you that statement from the Fair Wages. It's a joint statement from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission as well as the Teachers and Education Workers Union. So it reads: following the declaration of the strike by members of the Teachers and Education Workers Union, TEWU of TUC Ghana, of Public Universities, the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, represented by Ignatius Bafwewa, MP, convened an emergency meeting on Wednesday, January 13, 2021, to delve into the outstanding issues, and it indicates the people who were present in the meeting. But it concludes by saying the engagement was cordial and productive. Key issues of the engagement had been resolved in principle, pending further consultations with relevant stakeholders on both sides. The parties agree that TEWU will meet its local executives from the various public universities tomorrow, Thursday, January 14, to share the details of the outcome of the meeting with them and revert to government on decisions reached by Friday, January 15, 2021. Both sides exhibited considerable goodwill in the course of the deliberations. And it's signed by Dr. Edward Kwapong, Chief Executive for the Fair Wages Commission, and Mark Denchra Kranche, General Secretary for TEWU of TUT. The Food and Drugs Authority has issued a public health alert warning the general public against the patronage and use of a supposed COVID-19 vaccine. The FDA, in a press release, said it had come to its attention that some unscrupulous members of the business community are peddling information on the sale of COVID-19 vaccines to hospitals and other health facilities. Here is the full statement from the Food and Drugs Authority. So it says it has come to the attention of the Food and Drugs Authority that some unscrupulous members of the business community are peddling information on the sale of COVID-19 vaccines to hospitals and other health facilities. The information is ostensibly to inform the general public of the availability of these vaccines from well-known pharmaceutical brands, indicating their price ranges. The general public is hereby cautioned against the patronage of such vaccines, since the FDA has not yet approved any COVID-19 vaccine for use in Ghana. In view of the above, the FDA wishes to inform all health facilities and the general public that peddling of such information contravenes Section 118 of the Public Health Act 2012, Act 851, and constitutes a very serious offense. The The authority wants to assure the general public that it remains committed to protecting the health and safety of consumers. To this end, it monitors social media and online activities pertaining to the products it regulates. Therefore, anyone caught dealing with unregistered COVID-19 vaccines will be sanctioned in accordance with the provisions of Section 129 of Act 851, which includes a fine of up to 180,000 cedis or to a term of imprisonment of up to 25 years or both. Please note that when the COVID-19 vaccine is approved by the FDA for use in Ghana, the Ministry of Health will issue a national policy on the use of COVID-19 vaccines throughout the health sector. Now, as cases of COVID-19 increase daily, calls for strict adherence to all protocols have intensified. Regular hand washing and running water is said to be effective in the fight, but the people of Ninting say adherence to the protocol will be difficult due to lack of access to potable water. For decades, the community of Ninting in the Mampong municipality has scraped rocks for water. Reopening of schools in the face of a pandemic whose prevention is through regular hand washing among other protocols has got parents worried for their children. Lava Firm's Nanaya Juma traveled to the community and filed this report.
These twin sisters make their way from home in search of water for their house chores. They always pray for rains. When it fails, their opportunity to harvest rainwater from the roof is dashed. Along the road to the water source, the number of children heading there swells. The water oozes from a rock through a small canal, gathers at a small opening and scooped into containers. It's past midday and the twins we came to this place with have been in the queue since, waiting for their turn to be able to fetch from this source of water. It's the ordeal they have to go through on a daily basis before they are able to get some water for household activities and also some water for school when it's school day. Augustina Pokia describes the challenge they go through on a daily basis to get water before going to school.
On school days, we wake up at dawn to fetch water. The queue sometimes is very long that we end up running late for school.
As a daily routine, every child in the 2 government basic schools here at Ninting is expected to send a gallon of water to school. This is a challenge for pupils here, especially now that more water will be needed in schools due to the hand washing protocols of the pandemic.
I wish we had water in school for hand washing and other chores. Unfortunately, we don't have.
We are tasked to fetch water for school every day, and we end up showing up late for school.
The COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated the critical importance of sanitation, hygiene, and adequate access to clean water for preventing and containing diseases. Here at Ninting, this surface water, known as Nintimu, complements water from the rocks, but the route to the source is hilly and daunting. The untreated water source also dry up.
At this time, we are fortunate it is raining at this time of the year. All water sources would have dried up.
When this water dries, we go to the next village and we fight us to the water since it's theirs.
Efforts to get water supply extended from Mampong to nearby Ninting, which is just 4 kilometers away, have proven futile. Head of Ninting royal family, Nana Eduasare, says attempts to get regular supply of water in the peak of the pandemic have failed.
When Anado announced that communities without water, the assembly should supply them with free water. So they brought the polytanks, we raised it, and then we were expecting that they will bring us water. They started for about 2 days. Then the 3rd day, they said that the petrol they were using was too much, so they wanted the people to buy at 20 pesos per jerrycan. So when they bring the water, the people will line up and buy, but they stopped buying.
Community leaders are expecting the local authority to urgently attend to the water needs of the children as schools resume.
We have 2 primary schools and then 2 JHS, but they are on separate grounds. So we need about 3 polytons now, so that we can raise them, so that when they get the Berenka buckets, they can have access to water.
In Ghana, available statistics indicate less than 2 in 5 Ghanaians drink safe water. Also, 3 out of every 5 schools are without water supplies. This needs to improve in communities like Nintin for the country to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goal 6 of access to water and sanitation for all by 2030. From the Ashanti region for Joy News, Nana Aljima reporting.
Well, right on the back of that, there's been an update on the COVID stats, and there's been it indicates a further increase in Ghana's active COVID-19 cases to 1,420, with 2 more deaths, taking the death toll to 340. So we have active cases 1,428 after 198 new cases were reported on January 10. So the total confirmed cases since March is 56,806. So as we always say, just comply with the protocols and make sure you wear a mask when you're out in public. The National Association of Local Government Authorities, NALAG, is urging President Akufo-Addo to immediately revive processes that will allow for the election of MMDCs. The group of MMDCs says now is the best time for the revival of the process, which was aborted by the President in Parliament last year. President of NALAG, Bismarck Inkum, says with Parliament now having an equal number of NDC and MPP MPs, it will be easier to build national consensus in support of the election of MMDCs. He tells Joynews this will allow for continuity even when power changes hands, unlike now that MMDCs have been asked not to introduce any new policies because they are in acting capacities.
We know this was initiated by the executive, that is to say the president initiated it, and it got aborted midway through the process, ostensibly because we could not get consensus from both sides of the political divide, and so we could not go ahead with that. So yes, we have already suggested to the, can I say, the outgoing Minister for Local Government that this issue should be picked up again because it is the way to go.
So that then in President Akufo-Addo's second term, you want him to bring back the suggestion that MMDC should be elected?
2021, the process should start. And obviously, it will take Parliament to move the nation forward. If we are going for a referendum, we have NDC, MPP, they say we do not agree. How can we move forward as a nation?
So that's the expectation of Parliament in that regard?
So Parliament should try as much as possible to use their strength to galvanize support for this call so that as a nation we can elect our MMDCs.
Do you get a sense that political commitments to allow for that exist till date, even as institutions?
And that is what we are calling Parliament to do, that the people of Ghana elected them not for their personal benefit, not for the benefit of their political parties, but for the benefit of the governed. And so every decision by Parliament, every decision by the executive should be in the collective interest of the governed, those of us who voted for them.
Now, some identifiable groups in the New Patriotic Party are calling on the national executives to expand the electoral college for the party's primaries. Such an expansion, they say, will give room for every card-bearing member to be involved in the election of candidates to serve the interests of the party. Love FM's Malika Uku's report read to you.
In the 2020 parliamentary election, the NPP lost a lot of seats to the opposition NDC. At a press conference, a group known as Asanteman Koswo NPP in Puntu said most of the party members elected during the parliamentary primaries were not the preferred choice of the masses.
The party should take a look at how they choose our parliamentary candidates to contest on the ticket of the party for election purposes. We want the leaders to expand the electoral college, making it possible for every party member in good stand and with party card to partake in the election process of our parliamentary candidates.
Leader of the group, Hajia Leila Issa, says most of the government appointees failed to work in the interest of the Ashanti region.
Most of the appointees, like ministers, MMCs, DCs, Ashanti Regional Mayor, Ashanti Region Maslok CEO, NEP CEO, NBSSI boss and regional executives did not work as expected. Members of the party went to their offices and they were seriously rejected.
Thank you.
They relaxed on the job given to them by the president and did not work hard. Because of this, they had at the back of their minds that Ashanti region is the stronghold of the party, NPP. And therefore, be as it may, by hook or crook, the people will vote for them.
The group claimed they spent their own resources without external support during campaigning. They want President Akufo-Addo to invest massively in infrastructural development in the Ashanti region in his second term in office.
Asanteman is the pillar of MPP. We always vote massively to bring the party into power, but less attention is given to us in terms of infrastructure. The government in our second term should embark on massive infrastructure projects in Ashanti region.
Thank you.
Had it not been Ashanti region, NPP would have lost this election. It is for this reason that we are entreating the government to do more infrastructure in Ashanti region.
A petition has been sent to the president over some of these issues.
We presented a petition to Mr. President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President and the National Executives on 29 December 2020. And it is close to 3 weeks now since we sent the petition, but we have not heard anything from them.
Malik Awuku's report read to you.
Well, we're taking a break here to bring you more business, but up ahead, Joynews journalist designs a simple gadget to ease video interviews. During many interviews either go blank or they get their thoughts mixed up somewhere along the line. But there's this that Kwesi Debra, my colleague, has put together.
Allotted 30 minutes for this particular interview. In the middle of the interview here, cut. So instead of the 30 minutes, you end up spending more than an hour.
So do stay tuned. I have that coming up later on in the bulletin. Up next, really good.
Hello, it's time for business. Ratings agency Moody's is forecasting some challenging times for banks in Ghana this year. This is based on fears that loans given out might not be paid back in time due to the impact of COVID-19 on the operations of various businesses across the country. George Riafi has the details.
The forecast was captured in Moody's 2021 report on the banking sector in Africa and how it expects the COVID-19 to affect the operations of banks in the region. The ratings agency in the report noted that their fears has also been influenced by how the pandemic has affected the Ghanaian economy badly and its associated shocks on businesses. This, they fear, might affect the ability of some of these enterprises to quickly turn around the borrowed funds and pay back on time to these commercial banks, thereby warning that the quality of loans of most of these banks might be affected. The move could also have some chilling impact on the entire financial sector because of how this could affect the disbursement of fresh loans, cost of credit, and the growth of businesses and employment, especially at a time that we are talking about some second wave and another COVID-19 strain, which might be more deadly than the first one. The banks are said to have disbursed more than 20 billion Ghana cedis in loans since March this year. Moody's was, however, quick to add that based on the recent reforms to the Bank of Ghana, the expected impact might not be that severe if these reforms have not been put in place by the regulator over the past years.
Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission says it has formally informed the Economic and Organized Crime Office about the operations of Chinese firm Chime. This was after the commission established that the Chinese firm was operating without the required license. Deborah Mause Ajimfra is the Deputy Director General in charge of legal affairs for the SEC.
What the SEC has done is, after warning the public, is to inform law enforcement agencies to carry out their own investigations and take whatever steps they have to take in making sure that the Ghanaian investors are protected.
Some have questioned the approach adopted by the SEC with these announcements. Why does the SEC not just go ahead and close down these firms instead of just issuing warnings?
The SEC, as a government body, has its mandate, and our mandate at this point for an entity that is not licensed by us is not to shut it down, but to inform the appropriate authorities on what we have found out, and they can take whatever steps that they can take to make sure that this doesn't continue. But within our mandate, we only deal with entities that we have licensed. That is why we issue the public warning.
What is the advice of the SEC to the general public?
I think the general public in Ghana is very discerning now, taking into consideration the number of phone calls and emails we have received on the operations of this company and so many other companies. And we encourage them to continue to do so. If you have some business idea, you have some plans, somebody has invited you to do something, and you have some questions about it, the best people to come to will be the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Let's stay on this further because the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, has taken notice of a public interest warning dated the 8th of January, stated by the SEC, informing the general public that CHI, of course, has not been licensed to carry out any capital market activity. For the safety of the public, the GIPC, as a responsible state agency, has therefore started investigations into the said allegations and will assist other relevant agencies in their ongoing investment dealings moving forward. You can see on your screen there the public notice issued by the GIPC to this particular effect. Well, away from that, demand for dollars has surged significantly, as demonstrated by the $137 million bid by bankers and other financial institutions in the first Forex forward auction this year. However, the Bank of Ghana has positioned itself well to meet the rising demand for the currency with adequate supply, for which many importers are seeking to pay for goods after their stocks went down due to the Christmas festivity. There is more in this report.
The high demand for the dollar confirms the perception that forex demand at this time of the year would be high, particularly with the inclusion of economic recovery and the surge in domestic money supply in the latter part of last year. Analysts believe the forward market intervention has been critical to complement the spot market sale of dollars to keep the cedi stable. They therefore applauded the Bank of Ghana for anticipating rightly the high dollar demand and deliberate large allotment of dollars than the corresponding quarter last year. The first bid for the forward sale of dollars ranks among the highest since the central bank started the deliberate policy to sell dollars in 2019. It is believed that all segments of the forex market would receive as much supply as is required to prevent a faster pace of depreciation of the cedi. The local currency has since the beginning of this year lost about 0.16% in value to the dollar.
And that'll be it for business. I'm Charles Aite. Sports is up next.
Thanks for staying with us here on Joynews Prime Time to bring you the second installment of sports. My name is Hans Mengsando. Galka Chairman Kujo Fiano is cautiously optimistic ahead of elections which will be held on January 21. Fiano became the chairman of the association after emerging the winner in 2016 and is currently facing stiff competition from former Galka vice chairman Isaac Kumsin. However, the executive board member of Great Olympics is hopeful of winning the mandate of the delegates for a second tenure.
To borrow Sir John's words, you need to fear delegates. So if you have that at the back of your mind, it won't be over until it is over. So we are working very hard to make sure that we win the elections. A very credible competitor in the person of Mr. Isaac Kumsin. He's been the vice chairman before, and we must give him that due. So it is not going to be an easy run over him. So we are working, and then the programs and then the vision that we are sharing with the electorate will definitely do the trick for us come Thursday, 21st January. There is no election that you can, the examples are there. And you know, when you are coming in fresh, it's a different ballgame altogether. But if you are an incumbent, yes, people have something to point at. That look, this thing could have been done better. You could have done it this way. So it's not going to be an easy walkover. I'm sure he's going to give me a run for my money, and I'm also going to give him a run for his money.
So what will give you the advantage in the election?
A lot. My name cannot be detached to those good old days of Galka. And the way we came out of this crisis, vis-a-vis the COVID-19 and the Anas expose, the way we kept our heads above water, we did not allow ourselves to be swallowed by those two major setbacks. I think those are some of the pluses the delegates will look at. And then don't forget, experience is always the best teacher. Yes, I'm sure these are some of the things that the delegates will look at.
Comment, let's hear from the aspirant Isaac Kumsin, who believes Fiano has brought the association to its knees and does not deserve another tenure.
A lot has changed. A lot have changed. One of them is that Mr. Fiano has never been chairman before. I was coming as incumbent. I have chaired the GNCs, I've chaired so many competitions which people have seen. And that time, you remember 2016, there were a lot of challenges coming from World Cup, where we went and performed abysmally. And then our godfather, Kusi Antechi, also went to election unopposed, where there were a lot of dissenting views after the election. So it's like our football was facing somehow little challenge at the time. So it's like anybody who was seen as being in the camp of Mr. Nyantechi became somewhere unattractive. So that kick against us, and the man won. And when he won, I have said that I was happy because I thought he was going to change the association. But what did we see? 4 years of total collapse of the association. I hate to start conversation by talking about deficiencies of my the incumbent. But you can't go to an election without telling people the realities on the ground. And what are the realities? We are talking, or we are going to an election when a whole secretariat doesn't have a single staff. Isn't it surprising? A whole association that when I was leaving office, we left 4 people. Joyce Asante, we left Prince Parry. We also left accountant Abida, you know her very well. Then a cleaner, 4 workers. Currently, there's no single worker. So I keep on asking that you don't have an accountant. So when money comes, how do you treat it? You don't have an administrative manager. How do you write letters? So the association, as we speak now, is totally on its knees.
Now, former player of the West Africa Football Academy, Samuel Tete, has a message for his club. The New York Red Bulls forward has warned that their talent is not enough if they are to win the Ghana Premier League.
It's not just saying we have the quality to win the Premier League. The talent is there, all right, but it's also you also have to work hard, because I keep saying this: talent is not enough, and Wafa has great talents, good guys. They are really good playing, but then in the league, I feel like you have to be consistent in the away games and the home games as well. So I mean, it is not easy as being said, but then they just have to be consistent and also work hard for it.
But would you have wished you win the Ghana Premier League with Wafa?
Yeah, of course. It was the idea or the dream, but then it didn't happen that way. I mean, it was my first season in the Premier League, actually. So it was tough. But that was a dream. But it didn't happen as we wanted. So it was all good.
That's it for sports. There is more sports when you log on to myjoyonline.com/sports. You can also follow us on all the various social media handles. Joy Sports GH on Twitter, Joy Sports on Facebook, Joy Sports GH on Instagram.
Now, during video interviews, many interviewees either go blank or get their thoughts mixed up somewhere along the line. Journalists are therefore forced to type points on a laptop or on a piece of paper and show it to the interviewee. This wastes time as it extends the duration of the interview. It becomes a big problem for solo journalists whose attention is often divided between manning the camera to prevent technical hitches and helping the interviewee. Fortunately, a journalist with a multimedia group has designed a portable device known as paper prompter, which is meant to overcome these challenges. Law Firm's Mona Lisa Frimpong speaks with the man behind this device, Emmanuel Kwesi Debra.
Imagine you've allotted 30 minutes for this particular interview. And in the middle of the interview here, cut. So instead of the 30 minutes, you end up spending more than an hour on this interview. And in such a situation, a teleprompter comes in handy. But there's a case where it's expensive and sometimes bulky. You can't be carrying them everywhere. So I thought to myself, what can I do to salvage such a situation? And the paper prompter came to mind.
The device is made up of a hollow shaft fitted with a cylindrical bar with holes aligning the edge of the bar. The holes are points of attachment to the clip. The sheet of paper is therefore held to the bar by the clips. It is fitted with a bolt to regulate the length of the cylindrical bar depending on camera or paper size.
And the paper prompter has a cold shoe adapter which you fix onto the camera, and a horseshoe adapter which you can fix in a camera accessory, be it a microphone or a light. First, I designed a crude prototype and contacted Obin Okufodato of the KNUST College of Engineering and Innovation Center, who helped me so much to design this final version.
As the reporter focuses on his camera, the interviewee looks at the sheet of paper which has the write-ups to help interviewees sail through the interview smoothly. Again, questions can be written on the paper for interviewees to answer without the interviewer interrupting. Reporters can also write down points on the paper for piece-to-camera stories and will not have to carry along expensive electronic gadgets like a teleprompter.
So for 140 cedis, I can give you one to make your interviews very easy. You know, I also find it very hard going through an interview session. And throughout this interview, I also employed the paper prompter. I've done several tests and continue to conduct more tests to see how effective the device can be. But so far, so good.
Mona Lisa Frimpong reporting.
All right, so as you heard him say, it's 140 cedis. If you want one, you can reach out to me. I can help you out. That'll be all for the bulletin. Aisha Ibrahim is up next, and there'll be more on the outcome of the meeting between the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and Teodu. Stay tuned in.